Hi and welcome to this demonstration. My name is Björn, and in this video I'm going to continue the setup of the lab environment that we started on in the previous video. Now, if you haven't seen those videos, I'm basically just here making a set of videos as a series for the Understanding SharePoint Journal, issue number 5, which will be titled Beginning SharePoint Development. And so if you're looking to start up your SharePoint development career, you might want to pick up that issue. And I'll post the address at the end of the video here. So in this video, what I'm going to show you is how to do the initial steps of configuration or configuring your SharePoint environment. And so far what I've done is I've set up a Windows Server 2003 server. I'm using VMware here. And I've also configured IIS and made sure that ASP.NET is working as it should. And I've also installed and set up or performed the initial configuration wizard work for setting up SharePoint. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through all the first two steps of our SharePoint configuration. we're actually going to do the first three ones actually, because we need to read the quick start guide here. So once you've done that, you can just delete the item. So what we're focusing here is on the email settings here. Now, in a lab environment, you usually don't have access, or you don't want to use your full Exchange environment. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to use the built-in IIS web server. So I'm going to the Add Remove Programs in the control panel, and I'm starting up the Windows Components wizard. So we're going into the application server role, and as you remember, we installed this to get IIS up and running. And we click on details, and we'll go into the Internet Information Services, and we'll click details once again, and we'll basically just check the SMTP service. And you can make do with the SMTP service. If you want, you can probably also install the POP3 server. But as I said, for our lab environment, we can just use the SMTP server. It'll perform everything we need to do. So now after the Windows Component Wizard completes and sort of sets everything up, we can go back into our central administration here, and in just a moment at least, we should be able to now go into the incoming email settings to set up everything. And once you're using IIS, the built-in IIS, you can basically go to this is one of the cute things that happens, by the way. If you're installing additional components, sometimes it happens that IIS actually freezes. So and it basically just doesn't restart all the websites that you have. And this also gives us an opportunity to actually just verify that we have installed our virtual SMTP server. So if this happens to you, see the red cross here, and you can go into the websites here and just right-click to start the central administration. And as I said, that happens from time to time. I'm not sure why. So if you just refresh the page now, it should just launch as normal, and we can go into the incoming email settings here. So once we do that, we'll just get a short description of what we're going to do. We can click the link here to actually configure the incoming email settings. And as I said before, once we do that, we first get to select whether or not we want to receive incoming emails. And in this case, we want to do that because we want to have the option of sending emails to our lists. So we'll just change this to yes. And as you can see now, we'll basically have the option of setting automatic as the settings mode here. If you have, or if you want to use Exchange or use any other SMTP server, you can basically just select the advanced option and go through that. So and the other settings here, you don't really need to worry about too much, because this is just a machine name, and as I said, we're in a lab. We don't need to worry too much about what's going on. And you might also want to, if you want to keep your environment secure, you might want to check that you only want to receive emails from certain servers. That's up to you, by the way. It won't affect the development experience. So once we hit OK now, we'll go back to the application or the administrator task, and you'll see that the incoming email settings is now gone. So if you go to the outgoing email settings as well, we can configure that as well. And since we have the installed SMTP server, we can just use our own machine here. And we're just going to enter the name here, which is uspjlab-01. We also need to set a from address. And this is one of the things that, well, when SharePoint sends an email, it always sends it from the same address, and you might not want that. So you can change that when you're developing and using codes, but by default SharePoint will always send from the same address. So in this case, we'll just say administrator at uspjlab-01, which will be the local address here. You can also, of course, set a different reply email. So once we hit OK now, we basically performed the first two, or actually the three steps if you can count reading that quick start guide. And this is really how all you need to do to set up your email settings for a lab environment. So in the remaining videos of this series, I'm going to cover the remaining configurations here. So that's basically what I wanted to show you here.